I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. With Naja Hall.
So you all know that I spend a lot of time talking about step-parenting stuff and how hard it is and how awful it is and how we're just the biggest victim. Well, okay, I don't do that. Actually, I empower people that have chosen to be the bonus, to be the addition, to step up in their partner's lives. Well, what do you do about loyalty binds? What do you do if you have this really cool stepkid or maybe not so cool stepkid who is caught in the middle of adult grievances? You can tell when you're interacting with them that, man, I can't really get too close to this kid because they have an extreme loyalty to their other parent. Well, what I decided to do is I called up some of my stepmom expert friends, my step-parenting expert friends, rather, and I asked them to answer a question for me. I gave them the microphone, and guess what? They're going to be running the show today. So you're going to hear from quite a few of my expert friends, some familiar faces, voices, and names. Trust me, you know these guys. You read their articles, you listen to their podcasts, you subscribe to their magazine, and you look to them for advice. Well, today they're coming to holla at your girl. Today they're coming to holla at I Know I'm Crazy. How do you deal with a stepchild that's caught in the middle of a loyalty bind? And first up, we got Tim.
Hi, this is Tim Watson with the all-new Blend Credible podcast, and I am hanging with my friend Naja Hall. We want to tackle this question: how would I suggest a step-parent deal with a stepchild that feels guilty for liking them? First of all, we need to recognize one major factor here. Let's not get the word like, the word acceptance, and the word preference all mixed up. First, you as a person, as a human, you're designed and wired to want to be accepted into something or be associated with someone who can understand your peripheral view of life. You got to understand that a child is no different. What a child deems likable may oftentimes really be preferred, or what a child deems acceptable may oftentimes have nothing to do with preference, but acceptance. How do you deal with a child that likes you and at the same time is struggling to convey that to you because of the loyalty factor they have for their biological parent? First, you understand that this is a natural human desire. I desire to not only be liked, but I desire to like because it's safe for me when I do that. You have to understand that your child is looking for safety above all else. They're looking for somewhere they can feel safe to be, to love, to want to understand more about the person that is in their life now, which happens to be you, stepmom or stepdad. Yes, they like you. They like the idea of you liking them. They like the idea of some normalcy as they know it. They like the idea that there could be another avenue for positive reinforcement in their lives, even if they're not able to relay that to you themselves. How would I deal with it? I would deal with it as a stepdad from this platform, letting my child know that A, you are okay. This is natural and it is healthy. Number one. Number two, it is okay for you to like me and not accept everything about me. It is okay for you to like me and not prefer me over your mom or your dad. The main thing we need to do as step parents when we are faced with this situation is let our stepchildren know it is okay for you to like me and not prefer me. That is what gets convoluted in this whole thing. That's where the lines get blurred. We began to associate like with acceptance and preference, and you should not do that. It is unfair to your child. It is unfair to you as a step parent, and it is definitely unfair to the bio parent who is also struggling with this idea from a whole nother side. So, in short, to recap, number one, understand that there is a difference between like preference and acceptance. Number 2, understand that you must set the stage and the space for your child to feel comfortable doing this. Number 3, you must relate to them in any way that connects with your child, letting them know it is okay for you to like me and not prefer me. As a matter of fact, I like that you like me. I like you too. So we will work through this together. And if you begin to prefer me in areas of your life, that is natural. And if you never do, that is okay too.
Hi, I'm Kristen Skiles from stepmomming.com. First, I'd say don't take it personally. Stepfamilies are often difficult to understand for children. They don't understand an adult's chosen love, only the inherent natural love they feel toward their parents. If mommy or daddy has chosen to love someone else, is it possible they'll choose not to love me? Am I allowed to love or even like another parent? It gets so complicated when adult feelings and relationships affect something that should be so basic and easy for children. Second, I'd remind you that loyalty binds are real. My parents divorced when I was 2, and my mom remarried when I was 6, and I hated my stepdad for years, simply because I felt like liking him was a betrayal of my dad. If your stepchild is facing that dilemma of, I shouldn't like my stepmom because I love my mom, give him space to process it all. Allow your home to be a sanctuary where everyone can feel how they feel without judgment, guilt, or punishment. In time, I believe your stepchild will find a balance between loving his parents and liking his stepparents, but you have to give him the freedom to get to that place on his own.
Hi, I'm Brenda Oken with Stepmom Magazine, and loyalty binds are something that stepmoms are very familiar with. The best way to know what a loyalty bind looks like is to think back to the movie Stepmom with Julia Roberts and Susan Sarandon. There's a scene where the young daughter turns to her mom, Susan Sarandon, and says, "Mom, I'll hate her if you want me to." And that is a really great example of what a loyalty bind feels like from a child's perspective. And the reason loyalty binds exist are, if you think about it, a child, the first voice a child hears is its mother's. And there is just an innate loyalty that exists between biological parents and their children. And when a new person enters the dynamic in a step family, it can be extremely difficult for children to navigate how they should feel with this new person, especially if one of their parents is not comfortable with that relationship and has made it clear, either verbally or sometimes non-verbally, that they are not comfortable with their child forming a relationship with this person. So loyalty binds, they can manifest in a lot of different ways. Maybe your child, your stepchild came on vacation with you or was at your house for the weekend and then went back to mom's house and said, "I had no fun." And you know that they did. Or maybe the child ignores you as soon as mom walks in the room. Or maybe the child won't get close to you, won't warm up to you, and you just can't explain why. There's nothing wrong. The child just has a wall up. These are all loyalty binds. And when a child feels guilty for liking you, they're in pain. That's the first thing that as a stepmom or stepparent you need to remember, is that this is a child who feels like they are in a no-win situation. And this can actually happen whether the child is very, very young, or whether the child is a full-grown adult. Adult children can also be caught in loyalty binds and feel like it is just not okay for stepdad to do. The first step is accept what you can't change. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. Did you do anything wrong? No, you didn't. And it can be really hard not to take this personally, but by understanding that this is nothing you did wrong, this is a result of a circumstance, and it is actually a very common occurrence, it can help ease the pain that you feel when you're rejected by a child who you would like to form a relationship with. The second thing a step parent can do is follow the child's lead. Things can change over time. Sometimes a child will warm up to you, sometimes they won't. But it's really important to let the child set the pace. It's important to remember that things can change over time. Sometimes mom or dad will release the child from their loyalty bind. Sometimes as the child gets, they will see the situation for what it is and feel comfortable forming a relationship with a step parent. But it's very important just to really understand that you've got to follow the child lead, and only time can work in your favor in that respect. Finally, don't compete with the parent. This is a very natural feeling to want to try and do everything you can. Make those really great cookies, show up at every game, buy that outfit, create just experiences that the child is going to love. These things typically will not work in your favor, and you just need to be yourself. You need to step back sometimes. Sometimes that requires being the bigger person. Follow the child's lead and know that you didn't do anything wrong, and as hard as it is, don't take it personally. I hope this helps, and for anybody that's feeling this, please know that you're not alone, and time is on your side, and you are beautiful, and you are strong, and nobody else can diminish your light. So keep it up. Do what you're doing and be strong.
Hey everyone, this is Erin from Step Life, and Miss Naja has asked me a question. She says, how should a stepmom deal with a stepchild who feels guilty for liking her? Great question. First things first, don't take it personally, although it feels very personal. There are sort of two reasons why a child would feel this way, and so let's talk about those two reasons and then how to deal with it. So the first is that it's actually really, really natural. A kid is wired to want their parents to be together under the same roof. So particularly early on in a step family dynamic, kids often struggle with loyalty binds and confusing feelings like, if I like her, does it mean I don't love my mom? Or, where does she fit? What should I call her? It can be really confusing for kids of all ages, all the way up through to adult stepchildren. So if they're feeling this way because of that natural uncertainty, the way to deal with that is a great deal of patience. Don't push a relationship on them. Do not take on a significant parenting role. Just focus on your relationship with your partner and build that connection slowly with the children. You can do family activities. You can do some side-by-side activities like baking or watching movies, but overall, just take your time. The second reason why a kid might feel that way is because they're being coached into those feelings by someone else. And typically that would be the biological mother. So first reaction is, right, you get angry, you get peeved off, you want to yell at her, you want to call her names, you want to say bad things in front of the kids. But wait, take a deep breath and try and just consider why she might be feeling that way. She could be jealous of your relationship. She could be very threatened by the fact that you're this fabulous person who's come into her children's lives, and maybe even worried that you might love them and they love you more than her. It's irrational, but parents' emotions are really, really strong. So if a child is feeling that way because of the influence of someone else, like their mom, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to not stoop to her level. Do not try to pit the kids against her or say, she's lying, this is really the way it is, blah, blah, blah. You're going to put more stress and strain on the kids. And let's be honest, in a battle between mom and this new chick, mom is going to win out every time. So again, focus on your relationship and build the bond very slowly, taking the lead from the kids. If you feel comfortable doing so, it would be great if your partner can reassure them. So, just say, listen, she's not trying to take mom's place. She's just an awesome person who is also here to keep you safe and take care of you and just hang out with you and have fun. Kids always have to be respectful to you as an adult in the house. But that bond really does form over time. And if they can look back and say, you know what, she's only ever been really awesome to me, and her and dad are really happy, they will develop that bond even quicker. So good luck. I hope that's helpful, and I will talk to you again soon. Okay, bye, stepmamas.
So my name is Claudette Ali, and I'm known as the Stepmom Coach. And I've been a stepmom for close to 30 years now. And so loyalty binds is something that I've definitely had to deal with it with my two stepdaughters. And it wasn't easy because, 30 years ago, no one talked about this, right? And I felt that my stepdaughters were being pulled in trying to be, to love me, like me, as well as myself, because I was constantly reminded by family and friends, quote unquote friends, that I wasn't their mother. And so it was really hard in trying to figure out, okay, what is it I'm supposed to be doing with them? Like, am I supposed to be their friend? Well, that sort of didn't work well for us, considering I have a son that was close to the same age as my stepdaughters. And so if I was to be just friends with my stepdaughters and my son would be disciplined or parented by me, that wouldn't work. So part of what we did when it came to loyalty binds was for my husband and I to sit down and actually have a conversation around what was going on. What was really going on behind the tantrums, the bad mouthing, the talking back, the rebellion, because that's how my stepdaughters reacted to me in order to stay loyal to their moms. And it wasn't easy for anyone. And I think that once we started to acknowledge, I get it. You feel like you have to not like me in order to be liked, or that your mom isn't going to quote unquote abandon you or leave you behind, or maybe even criticize you. I get it. It's okay. We don't need to be dealing with trying for you to love me, or for you to show that you appreciate me. And I think by acknowledging it and to put a light on it, to instead of avoiding it, instead of pretending that it didn't exist or pretending it was something else, but to actually acknowledge and say, hey, I understand you're feeling pulled between us and trying to know what's the best thing. I'm okay with this. And I think it gave them permission to actually say, hey, I don't have to be doing anything other than respecting, listening. And I think that helped a lot in them being able to be themselves, in them not having to be rebellious or talking back or trying to prove, that their mom was there. The other thing that it also did was it left space for us to be who we wanted to be. Meaning that, there are days when I wasn't very happy with them. And part of that was I wasn't happy with them because I wasn't happy with their mom. And so once I took away that piece, saying, hey, I'm not happy with what's going on and it has nothing to do with you, it also helped us a lot. So it's about conversation, communicating. It's about saying what's actually going on instead of pretending that other things are in the background, and being clear and having a conversation with your partner and saying, listen, I'm really feeling stressed out because this is going on, and I don't know if it's me, if it's your daughters, if it's the ex, what's going on. Could we just have a conversation so I can have clarity and know that it's not just in my head? Or maybe it is in my head, who knows? But having a conversation. So that's how we dealt with loyalty binds in our family.
Yeah, I would say for any particular stepmother-child relationship, first and foremost, it is so important to get to know your stepchild as an individual outside of the blended family stigma. Spend time with that person. Understand what that child likes in terms of hobbies. Get to spend one-on-one quality time with your stepchild doing things that they like to do. Ask them the questions. What type of activity would they like to have together with you as a one-on-one date? Because too often you hear of stepchildren, what we call of having sweet nothings whispered into their ear by their mother, saying negative things about you as a stepmother, that it helps to filter all that out and build a relationship with them one-on-one, so there is your own relationship with them. And it's not a relationship that has their mother involved with the two of you together. Because as that relationship is building and that bond is growing, over time, that negativity that they're hearing from their mother will subside, and they will look at you as somebody that cares about them, and they in turn will start to bond with you in a different way than what their mother is telling them.
That is so good, Kendall. Find out who they are as individuals. My God. Thank you so much. Yes.
Because they are people. They are little people, whatever age that may be. Whatever that age may be, it is so important to know them as a person, their likes, their dislikes, their favorite foods, things that they don't want to eat, how they like to keep their room. Some people like to keep it hot, some like to keep it cold, some like to keep it messy, some like to keep it neat. And it's just as if you're building a friendship with somebody new that you've met, you want to get to know them.
Right.
Get to know your stepchild on a one-on-one basis, not just as in a blended family. Build that individual relationship.
Oh my God, that's literally a perfect response. Thank you, Kendall Rose of Stepmoms Club.
Thank you, Naja.
Hi, I'm Allie Wilkes. I am from Step by Step Mom and Successful Step Couples. So my answer to the question about this stepmom dealing with the stepchild is, for me, it seems obvious that the child wants to like you, but for whatever reason, they feel that they can't like you. So my thing is depending on the age of the child that you are, that you have the concern about, or that the child has the concern about, is, it's going to be a little bit different if you're having little children who have these feelings of guilt. And what I call this situation is, it's called torn loyalties. And so the torn loyalties is basically where exactly the situation where a child wants to like their stepmom, actually does like their stepmom, or even loves their stepmom, but doesn't feel like they necessarily have the permission to do so. And so that could come from something that they get directly from their biological parent, usually their bio mom, or they might get it from themselves. So they think that they're not allowed to do this. So one of the things that I talk to stepmoms about a lot is, again, depending on the age of the child. So with little children, they may feel more caught in the middle of this loyalty bind. And so it's really important to acknowledge the child's feelings. And for sure, if the child is even older, you can problem solve with them or help them problem solve those feelings that they're having. So, asking older children, well, why do you feel like you can't like me? Are you thinking that you can't like me or love me, or are you getting this message from somebody else? And so helping them figure out ways that they can problem solve them. How is it okay for them to feel comfortable with these feelings that they have? Yet how do they make, and honor what they're feeling, but also helping them figure out a way that they feel safe having the feelings for you. So one of the key things that I say is definitely acknowledge that guilt that they're feeling. Ultimately, what I say is that, the permission really does need to come from the bio mom, to say that it's okay for you to like your stepmom. And that may or may not necessarily happen. Some of that torn loyalties can even come from other family members like grandparents as well, but typically it seems to come, in my experience in working with stepmoms, is that it's quite often that permission is not coming from the bio mom. So either that permission is, you definitely can't like this stepmom, you don't have to listen to her, she's not your mom, you don't have to listen to those rules, or whatever the situation may be. Or again, like I said, it just might be, a feeling that the child has, kind of like a cringy feeling that they just don't feel like they can be open and talk about their stepmom in a positive way, or even show her affection when they see her. So it's just, again, acknowledging those feelings, giving the child some support around that they may feel guilty, it's okay to feel guilty. And giving the child some space and grace to open up to you essentially in their own time. Saying it's okay for you to feel this way, but we're going to spend the time that we have together doing the things that we like together, and just not making sure that the child doesn't feel like they're being forced to be in a situation where they have to show loyalty to both parents, and putting them in that kind of a position really can be really difficult for kids. It could increase some anxiety around spending time with you, or even anxiety around sharing what's happened with their birth mom when they come back home for visits. So that's kind of my advice.
What a wealth of knowledge. First of all, let me just give kudos to myself for pulling this awesome group of people together. Who else could have done this but Naja Hall? A knowledgeable, a diverse, an eloquent group of people. Who else could have done this? So everybody, let's just pause and give Naja a hand. Just give me a hand. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned a lot. I know I sure did. I know I'm crazy, and I know you guys are crazy too for even being over here listening to me. I'll see you next week. Let's see you week after next. Every other Tuesday. Remember, listen to I Know I'm Crazy on every streaming platform.
I know I'm crazy. Naja Hall.